see him play and get to know him a little bit?
I mean, seen him. I haven't spent a lot of time with him. Just ask him how it's been, just general. And I haven't watched him play a lot, to be honest with you. So I really couldn't give you a good answer to that, Jules. I know I've seen him out there, making saves at the end with the guys, and it's a hard spot because the guys are cracking one-timers from 10, 20 feet, and but he's hanging in there. Yeah, but no, I don't have a lot for you.
Have you talked to anybody else about him at all, or kind of just? I know you had mentioned before that sometimes during practice you step away from the goalies and let.
Yeah. Yeah, Bucks. I asked Bucks how he's doing. Yeah, and he said he's doing well. He's liked how he's made the adjustment. It's clearly an adjustment when you come up. The shooters are better, quicker releases, those kinds of things. I just asked him how's he doing, and he said he's doing really well. He's happy with how he's done. So that's basically it.
Harder to try to work a young goaltender in where you can't just throw him on the fourth line and ease him in. You kind of have to be just all around thing with him specifically.
Yeah, it's such a hard position, and I think he has to, like all players, have to earn their way. And the person who tells me that is Bucks, is our goalie coach, because I couldn't tell you one way or the other. So I just trust what he has to say. And if he says, the time comes, like, who do we have to start? What's your recommendation? And if he says Ports, then we go through the other coaches on that. But then that's probably what we'll end up doing. But we haven't got to that stage yet.
When Mo came up, you talked about wanting to see him play with Spenny because of their comfort level and maybe elevate the both of them. Did you see that on Spenny's side as well in that first game? I know you talked about Mo the other day.
Yeah. I thought they were put it this way, they were a solid pair. Mo really stuck out, though, as far as having a good game. I think he was probably one of our better defensemen of the six on the night. So the first game, the first couple are the easiest. So if he can do that, game after game, maybe he doesn't have to be that good, but just be solid, then he'll get a good run.
What does it say about him that he was maybe behind some other guys playing in the AHL? He comes up and he immediately pops into the lineup, maybe the trust that he gives to you guys.
Yeah. Well, he's got a good track record with us, too. So I think that's the one thing that's different for him is, has a track record. He's played at multiple different times. And I remember last year he came in, he played with Drew right away when Mikey went out and played in the first pair. So he's got quite a bit of experience, and we know what he can do. We'd like him to play like he did last game after game. And that if he does that, like I said, he'd be a hard guy to take out of the lineup.
What are maybe some of the defensive attributes that he has that make him such an easy call-up and such an easy guy to just plug into the lineup with anybody?
He has really good hockey sense, so it starts there. So if you paint the picture of the perfect defensive physical specimen, you're not going to find Mo in that category. You're just not. But if you say, okay, now, but what does he have to have from a hockey sense perspective, you'll find Mo in that picture. And, unfortunately for players of that style, forwards or defensemen, sometimes it takes longer for people to come around to that type of a player. It just does, because it doesn't look the part. But in the end, it's a results-based. And if he's contributing more, we'll go back to it, good plays and bad plays, offensively and defensively, you know what, then you start to say, okay, well, it doesn't really matter if you don't have some of those attributes, you're getting the job done, and ultimately that's what you should be measured on.
Tim, when we're talking like schedules, I know we tend to think a little bit broader. You look at it, you see, you got this block of games, whatever, and you probably lean more toward, or coaches lean more toward tomorrow. But you've got this, now you're home for a bit. You've got this stretch here. And it feels like the league, the way it's played out so far, you've got a few these really good teams, and you got about 15 teams that are like 9-9 and 1 or whatever. How much would you like, or how much are you looking at this block here to be able to separate yourself from further from that big block? And
oh, that's a good question. Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to look at it. The way I'm looking at it, first and foremost, is we got off that 6 weeks of playing a lot of road games, and we got, to me, able to be home, to try to get fresh, to have our best 3 practices we've had since probably the first 3 practices of training camp. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. How can our team get better as a whole? And you'd hope the results come, but I liked our week of practice and our chance to get fresh up. So that's what I look at first and foremost. The second one, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of different ways to look at that. Lou Lamoriello had a way of looking at it, and I've since kind of adopted it myself. You try to get 5 games over 500. You don't worry about anybody else, just yourself. You try to get 5 games over 500. Hard to do. And if you can get there, then the next thing you want to look at is try to get 10 games over 500. That might take you a month, might take you 2 months, you might never get there. So I really would focus on us, and let's try to get 5 games over 5, and then stabilize. And so it's just a way, I think, to keep yourself more focused and on your own team. And then if you can do that, obviously, you're going to create some separation with some other teams.
What do you consider when you measure yourselves? What kind of paradigm do you use to measure yourself? Is it the opponents that you face? Is it something within that you measure, a standard?
Yeah.
How do you measure? What do you use to measure where your team is at?
I mean, that's right. There's lots of different ways. We have some stuff internally that we like to look at. You know, that we I'll tell you, I bring it all back to you. You know, you can make good plays, you can make poor plays. So how many good plays do we make defensively? How many good plays do we make offensively? On average, as the season goes each game, it's something we look at. Okay? And what's the number of poor plays we make defensively and offensively? On average, in a game. So we have some kind of benchmarks for what that looks like. So what I'm looking for is to bring the good ones up and the bad ones down. If I know that, we've had a good game. Whoever the opponent is, we've had a good game. And we've had some of those games that we haven't won, but mostly when we have that balance in our favor, we've won. And when it's kind of our normal, you know, then we'll win and lose. If we're a lot of mistakes, we haven't made a lot of good plays, then we win. So we can measure that internally, and it's a pretty accurate measure for us.
And when it comes to meeting your standards that you set, it leans more that way as opposed to whether you're playing a team here in the stands this night or a team down here.
Right, no. I just don't see the difference in the team. I see the difference in the standings and the points, and I certainly respect that. But I don't see the difference in the teams. Every year I've been in the league, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I just don't see that anymore. I just don't. You have to play. You're not going to have a game where you make a bunch of mistakes and not a lot of good plays and beat anybody. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So it's just making sure that we're not making a lot of mistakes and then building on that.
With these 3 games here on this homestand and so many days of rest and practice between them, is it helpful for you guys to have those days when you're going up against teams that maybe you don't see very often or haven't seen yet, or do you not really focus on the opponent right away?
Yeah, don't really focus on it. Yeah, it fits into that bucket. I mean, you know, we only see, so what do we play, 4 times versus our division, so that'd be 2 home games. You know what I mean? So the difference, if we were playing somebody 8 times and somebody twice, I might see your point, but you know, it's pretty balanced. So it's not like you're getting the same team over and over again. So we don't really have a lot of emphasis on that.